So we're going to jump right back into it. Oh, yeah. ¿Cómo estás? Hola. Hello. Tudo bem? Konnichiwa. What it do? So we're going to jump right back into it. This is Stephen A. Smith versus LeBron incident part 6. And I mentioned this in the last video, and it's been a theme that we've been running with here, is that Stephen A. Smith had all this information. He could have said it at any time, but he decided to hold it. He decided to hold it, and now he's exposing things. And it's not uncommon. I've seen people do these things before, but Rashad McCants is about to get on that a little bit. Listen to what Rashad McCants has to say.
That's what I'm saying.
That it resonates.
That's what I'm saying.
But
you holding back.
But it's not always hurt.
But you holding back sometimes works against you because you could have said it when everybody was feeling it and everybody knew it was supposed to come out and you supposed to say it, right? So you holding that Bronny information, you holding on to it, knowing we all saying it, right? And we waiting on Stand-Up Steve to say it because that's going to validate it.
Right.
Waiting for Stand-Up Steve is crazy. That's diabolical to call him Stand-Up Steve. I'm never calling him Stand-Up Steve. But McCants is my guy personally. I think he comes up with some pretty good things. I know some people hate him. You know, he's got to be left-handed or something like that cuz I think with the other side of my brain too. So I come up with corny stuff all the time, so I respect it. But Steve, I would not call Stephen A. Smith Stand-Up Steve. That's an almost ironic name in my opinion. But Rashad is right. Like, basically, you got all this information. We're waiting for somebody like you to validate it so that we know we're not crazy, and also to see somebody who's got a main spotlight be honest, right? Because that's what we want from people. A lot of the reasons that the news and everybody has problems now is because we're tired of the dishonesty. So it's better to just be honest. Say what you really feel. And of course, Stephen A. Smith was not telling you what he actually felt for most of this time until now. So you take that with a grain of salt. I don't know how much some of y'all listen to Stephen A. Smith on a regular basis and really follow him and really believe everything that he says, but I wouldn't. Because look at all this information he was just keeping, just holding on to when he really felt this way deep inside. Remember, in episode or part 4 and 5, he mentioned, yeah, I was clapping with everybody else, even though I thought it was strange. Then why were you clapping? I'm supposed to trust you? Trust you? We're supposed to trust this guy? I wouldn't. Next clip.
This is all he had to say, because I said this to Rich Paul when Rich Paul called me. I said, Rich Paul, I only asked for grace in one level, on one point. If you had called me and said, Bron pissed off, motherfucker mad as hell, he want to see you man to man. I said, what would I have done? Rich Paul said, you'd have hung up the phone and you'd flew to LA. I said, thank you. So my point is, rather than come up to me at courtside, all you had to do was say, yo, I need you to stay, don't leave this game. I need you to see you after the game. That's all he had to say to me. Mm-hmm. Then as we speak, he says that, let's take an example, he said what you just said. Yeah. I stand down. My bad. And not only that, I'm gonna make sure I go on the air. I ain't look at it that way. That's on me. You didn't do that shit. You said, my son, no, I wasn't. I was talking about you. I was talking about you. Wasn't about your son. I know he's number 55. I know he got work to do. Woo. I believe that he got potential. Yeah. I believe that he got the potential to go pro. I truly believe that. It's gonna be tough, but I think he could pull it off. And by the way, I'm rooting for him. I ain't rooting against nobody. But I was talking about you. You did this. Mm-hmm. You the one that had us as reporters, as a league, as an NBA franchise. All of us gotta sit back and be quiet and capitulate to your
Come on now.
You did that. And so when I see people talking, and I'm like, oh my God, can somebody, I mean, I know I got a show, and I know I got my podcast, but I'm like, y'all, I'm fair. I don't care who it is. It's you, it's you, it's you. It don't matter who it is. And I'm just meeting you. If somebody unfair to you, I'm gonna be like, that's not fair.
So, man, he hit some stuff right on the head. But he also was doing what Stephen A. Smith does and kind of talking out of another side of his face, because he did say that, like, if you would have called me or said, hey, I want you to stay after the game, I need to talk to you, I would have did it. And I believe he would have. I believe he would have did it for LeBron. Okay? And he said, oh, I'm fair. I think he's fair, or would have been fair to LeBron because he benefits from that. So Stephen A. Smith talks out of both sides of his face because I do think he would have did those things for LeBron. But we have evidence of him not doing that for other players that he doesn't deem to be as powerful. So he'll make exceptions for somebody like LeBron. And honestly, is he a bad person for that? I can't say that. A lot of people do. That's how a lot of people move. I was raised to treat everybody the same as much as possible. So if I'm going to be mean to that person, I need to be mean to the other person. To me, that's fairness. Not changing how you act based on who it is and their popularity or their power or their clout. But that's just me. As far as him saying we capitulated to you and all this stuff, he's 1,000% right. LeBron was sitting up there. You wanted everybody to dance, Bron. You wanted everybody to dance in your little puppet master play. You wanted everybody to be in line and lockstep, say the right things, be okay with everything that you did when it concerns Bronny. And then when people start telling the truth because they just can't take it anymore, then you go after Stephen A. Smith, which actually was a smart choice. He's got a big mouth as far as a lot of people listen to him. He's got a lot of say-so in the sports media world. And he's not going to come back at you. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about later in this video, because Kenyon Martin is going to bring that up. And Stephen A. Smith knew that. He knew that LeBron wouldn't come back at him. And Stephen A. Smith is going to give us all these reasons why, but we'll discuss that as we get to it. But I also want to point out how he said that as far as when it comes to LeBron James talking about keeping Bronny out of the way of this, it wasn't about Bronny. And Stephen A. Smith said it again. I was talking about you and what you did to put more pressure on your son, because he's telling the truth. A lot of this is LeBron's fault. It's LeBron's fault. You put that extra pressure on your son for so many other reasons. It's not just because he said what he said last year when he was tweeting watching basketball, saying that, oh, Bronny's better than like a lot of the basketball players in the NBA right now. It's not just that. It's things after that as well. And again, these are things that they're going to talk about as we finish up this Gil's Arena part of Stephen A. Smith talking about this LeBron James incident. But just keep that in mind. Like, this is on Bron. You can't just, at least partially, right? And also, I've never heard anybody really say they want Bronny to not be successful. Now, I may have heard of, well, have I really? Maybe one or two people, I'll say. Maybe one or two people. But even when I heard him say it, it's not really about Bronny. Nobody really dislikes Bronny. At worst, they really, really, really dislike what LeBron did. And Bronny's just in the middle of that. But again, LeBron, you knew that. You knew that forcing your son in the league was going to put extra pressure on him and make some people really dislike him. But really, it's you that did all those things. It's you. And Stephen A. Smith here, he's got it pointed at you, which is correct. We shouldn't really be pointing too many fingers at Bronny. He's complicit. So, I mean, you can be, what is that? You can be liable, I guess, to a crime if you're complicit in certain things. That's true. But, I mean, he's still a young man trying to figure it out. And I put most of the blame here is on his father. I personally have never said to myself, man, I hope Bronny sucks. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's the right way to handle it. The problem is with your dad and what he did. I think if LeBron would have stood up and been a real dad and said, hey, why don't you stay in college and get yourself right? I do think Bronny could have made the league. Where he would have went and all that stuff, I don't know. But I think he could have made it. I really believe that. Would he been the best player? I don't know. Will he be the best player? I don't really know. But I think he definitely could have made it on his own merit. How could you not? If he averaged 10 to 12 points a game in college, somebody would have drafted him. And at least that would have been the right way to handle it. You know what I mean? So let's continue.
That's not fair. But when it comes to me, everybody get crickets. Huh? Stephen A. on his own. That, respectfully, excuse my language, I'm on my own. When number one, we know I'm right. Number two, we know the perspective that I'm coming from is real and it's authentic. Number three, he set this up.
He set this up, which is what I've been saying from the beginning of time, and people do not want to listen, man. He set all this up. Him and Clutch Sports, he and Clutch Sports, whichever is more appropriate. They set this up. They set this up. Stephen A. Smith was complicit. He was one of the complicit people. And now look, now he's on here going nuts because he was treated unfairly, similar to how he's been treating other people unfairly at times, but he is being treated unfairly. LeBron did set this up. He set it up in a way so that he was going to manipulate things and make it work in his favor. But the problem here is that at a certain point, again, people started pushing back. When people don't like something, when they feel like something's not right, when they feel like something is unfair, when they feel like they're being lied to or manipulated, some of us are strong enough to say something. And when we're strong enough to say something and we keep saying it, even Stephen A. Smith, who's trying to avoid the truth, he's trying to avoid being honest, has to say something. And this is why I tell people be like, oh, what does it matter if you say something or don't say something or whatever? Listen, this is why you say something, because you say something and the next person says something, and eventually it forces the people in power to deal with what you are saying. Eventually. In anything. More people have the power than you would believe. Because it forces those people that have power to acknowledge what the masses are beginning to say. Eventually. The tide will turn eventually. Right? And then even this, I wouldn't even be surprised if LeBron approaching Stephen A. Smith wasn't planned. And Kenyon Martin's about to speak on it in this next clip. But he knew what Stephen A. Smith was going to do. He knew he was going to be an easy target. As powerful as Stephen A. Smith is, he's a clout chaser. LeBron James has the most clout of dang near anybody in any sport. He does. You can't deny that. He's got a lot of pull. And LeBron knows that people like Stephen A. Smith idolize that. I bet you he wouldn't run up on Mike Wilbon like that. He still hasn't run up on Skip Bayless. He hasn't run up on Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd did a whole soliloquy on how ridiculous this situation is to him. And he was a LeBron James homer for many years. Kwame Brown been talking about it. He ain't going to approach Kwame Brown like that. I doubt it. Isaiah Stewart on the Pistons, when he bloodied Isaiah Stewart, and Isaiah Stewart was running around the court trying to get after LeBron James. He dang sure ain't approaching him like that. He tried to stay as far away from that dude as possible. I don't even know if he played the last couple times they played the Pistons to avoid him. So he picked the right one, and Kenyon Martin's going to speak on that. Let's check it out.
To people where they know what the response is going to be, right? Yeah. If he thought that Stephen was going to be on bullshit in the moment, ain't no way he would have did that in that moment, right? If he thought there was a slight chance that this could go left, right? They're not going to put themselves in that situation. Right. Trust. You approach me, it ain't going to be narrative that you. It's going to be way worse than what you... Listen, it started out as you... mother... and then take me out in cuffs. Cool. You bought this whooping upon yourself in public because you thought that was going to be the narrative. Right. It's not going to be the narrative. They do shit to people who they think and they know they can get away with it with in public.
He ain't got to be swinging.
Steven,
I'm not doing that.
He's not. That's him. That's why I said, what would Kenyon do?
A little trip though, just
Good
no accident.
And I said all this, the Lord don't put me in them
but
kind of
he wrong.
situations because I'm going to fail tremendously.
Ah, man, this is like my favorite part of the entire video. Kenyon Martin went off, man. And this is why, if you're a real one, you got to like Kenyon Martin, man. You got to like Kenyon Martin. And what he said is basically like, listen, this was all set up. He knew Stephen A. Smith wasn't going to jump on him. He knew he wasn't going to jump on him. And that's why he did it. You know what I mean? And Stephen A. Smith is getting to the bottom of it, and they're all getting to the bottom of it now that it's seemingly more about LeBron than about Bronny. But Kenyon Martin's saying, like, listen, it would not have gone down like the narrative you wanted with me. I would not have been a character in your story. I would have went from a character in the story to the main character on your behind. I would have been the main character on your behind. Pause. No bad boy. I would have been on you. That's what Kenyon Martin is saying. And he said, you know, he said, God don't put me in them situations. Because he already know how I'm going to handle them. And I get it, man. And there's a part of me that loves hearing that from Kenyon Martin because, you know, the world's not perfect and promoting violence is not good. I understand that. But you can't let people walk all over you, man. I will never be an advocate for that. And it doesn't always have to be straight up violence with fists. You don't let people get over on you. You change the narrative, right? Now, maybe you don't change it like Kenyon does, where you boxing them, you might be going out in handcuffs. But you change the narrative. I always do that. Now, I don't get into a lot of squabbles with people. Unfortunately, online, people act crazy, so you got to stand up for yourself a little bit more than you ever would in real life. In real life, I find that most people are cordial, and they'll listen to you. You know what I mean? Online, it's a crazy war zone. It's a sick place. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to let people create this narrative in any situation where they get to walk over me. Nah, I'm going to win this battle. And I'm able to do it verbally because I'm really good with words and I can think my way around certain things that people try to do to you. But I'm changing that narrative. So Stephen A. Smith did the good boy thing, respectfully. He did what good boys do. I wouldn't have been a good boy that day. And it doesn't have to be cursing. It doesn't have to be violence. It doesn't have to be fists. But I would have switched it up. And he turned around, I would have said something else. I would have made him turn back around. I would have kept talking as he was walking away. You're not gonna just, you know, make me go viral and look like a chump. That ain't happening to me. Ain't nobody doing that to me. I tell you right now, not happening. Not happening. Not happening. So, I'm with Kenyon on that. Let's wrap it up with this last segment. And then we can move on to Stephen A. Smith versus LeBron incident part 7. And we'll prelude to that. But let's finish this last part first.
To me, when some of these players do it's like everybody just taking this gold. I'm like, really? I'm like, they don't lie. They don't lie.
The biggest liars.
They don't up sometimes. They don't come up with narratives to make you look bad to cover themselves. Oh, they just paragons of virtue. Come on, y'all. We know better than this. And I'm going like, yo, and I'm not saying any of, you got cats. I had my man Cameron interview me. He was like this, do players talk to you? Oh, so, and that's my man. He's like this. I'm just asking. I said, people see 4 or 5 players getting on me and they think the other 440 plus don't talk to me? So you think I have information by accident? I said, do you know? I've been around. Yeah. It's GMs, it's presidents, it's player personnel directors, it's scouts, it's evaluators, it's owners. Mm-hmm. I remember one time, KD, one of the many times he talking shit, was sitting up there talking about, well, you know what? Fuck he know. Who the fuck he talk to? He in Brooklyn. Fuck he know about Golden State, what the hell he know about what's going on? He turned around, he did a double take. Because that night I was sitting with the owner. Another night it was a GM. for another team. Another night, it was one of the GMs, assistant GMs. It's like, you don't know who I know. There isn't a team in the league that I can't get information from. And trust me, it might take a day, it might take an hour, it might take a month. But I'm going to get it if I want it.
It might take a day.
If I want it.
You hear Swaggy P in the background. It might take a day. Yo, Swaggy is crazy, man. Hopefully one day I'll get to meet Swaggy P. He's one of my favorites. He's hilarious to me. Like, I'd like to see what he actually takes seriously, man. But he seems like a cool dude, a pretty fun guy to hang out with. But and actually, let me correct myself a little bit. I don't know how much I truly want to hang out with Swaggy P because I'm not a party guy, so I don't want to be hanging out with him at parties. But it'd be cool to meet him and chop it up and just talk to him and get his take on things because he's funny, man. He's a funny guy. But this, in closing, this is Stephen A. Smith talking about how he knows certain things, and I believe him. I believe he has ties to a lot of these people, and part of the reason that he does is because he controls a lot of the narratives. And so they're going to want to let him control the narratives. And when it comes to owners and GMs and stuff like that, a lot of these players are out of control, in my opinion. They're running around like wild beavers outside of the dam with all the sticks and no logs and just acting crazy out there. Just craziness. These players are acting like beavers with no dam, all right? Just wild beavers out there. Chucking wood. That's what they are. But the one thing that can kind of keep them in somewhat control is the fact that GMs and owners can speak to someone like Stephen A. Smith and give them intel on stories that they're not supposed to know. So if you're a player and you think you're safe, you're not. And that actually in some ways is a good thing, to keep some of these people more accountable. You're not safe because Stephen A. Smith does have connections with these people and he does get to talk to them. And if they decide that they want to turn their backs on you, they can do it by instantly getting on the phone with Stephen A. Smith. So he said, hold on a second. Remember who you're talking to. And I see Stephen A. Smith more as a passive-aggressive type dude anyway. So he'll get you back in another way. Whereas, obviously, the Kenyon Martin types are like, you know what? If it's jail, it's jail. But you're not going I'm not going to be a character in your story. I'm going to be the main character on your behind. Pause, no bad boy. So what we really want to take away from the last two episodes here, where we're talking about Stephen A. Smith on the Gills podcast, Gills Arena, podcast, is that essentially he's saying all these things that he knew that he could have said. He just held him in. He played the game. He was a part of the circus until LeBron pulled that stunt. And then he said, you know what, I'm not going to be a part of this circus no more. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to say something. And as far as being a father, he was essentially saying, like, listen, I was trying to approach you respectfully. You said that you wanted to be, you're marketed as his father. So I tried to approach you respectfully as his father because it hasn't been looking good. And Bronny is, and people talk about the G League and stuff like that. But again, like I said before, I don't care about the G League. I don't know nothing about the G League. I don't watch G League games. What does that mean to me? What does that mean to me? I remember dudes like, I think Josh Selby, like one of my boys was obsessed with Josh Selby. And I seen him play in Summer League and he was balling, man, balling. In the G League, he was going crazy too. Never got a call up. Never was really allowed to play in the NBA. And I think he was on the Grizzlies. Never was really allowed to play in the league. And is some of that probably politics? Okay, yeah. Some of it might be that maybe he just wasn't what the NBA was looking for. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But I didn't remember people talking about him being in the G League and how good he was playing in the G League and why it's stupid that he's not getting opportunities in the league. So again, Stephen A. Smith is speaking to some truth here. You guys, Clutch and LeBron are the ones making this more about your son. You told us he was better than he is. And then now every time he does something, ESPN wants to make a big deal out of it. And I know Clutch and LeBron have some pull in why that's happening. People say, 55th pick. Why are you talking about the 55th pick? We're talking about the 55th pick because, you know, you guys are making a big deal out of it. You made a big deal out of it. You made it a whole Sports Center thing, and you've always made it a whole Sports Center thing. So what, we're only supposed to praise and never talk about the things that are bad? Who gets to live like that? Who gets that honor? Nobody. Nobody on earth is a god that can escape criticism. That's not how this works, man. That's not how this works. So, you know, he says that, and then we go on to the Kenyon Martin incident where he's telling you, like, listen, this is all manufactured, and he wouldn't have did that to me. Somebody like me, he wouldn't have did that to. And that's facts also. But the main thing that we need to keep in mind here is that Stephen A. Smith is saying that this was never about Bronny. It was about you, the father. And that's where we're going to start in part 7. So Stephen A. Smith versus LeBron incident part 7, we're going to start with the real problem here is that Stephen A. Smith said something about LeBron. But what's even deeper is that we're going to find out it might not even be about his relationship with Bronny as his father. The real issue is that Stephen A. Smith will not drop down to his knees and say that LeBron James is the GOAT and that he's better than Michael Jordan. How do we know this? Well, the next episode, we're going to listen in on a discussion between the great Carmelo Anthony and Dwayne Wade. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the J-Boy Sports Podcast. Much love. Please like, share, and subscribe. Much love. I can tell that somehow you never get over leaving me.